Hey ladies and gents, it's Zemback, and we are doing the review on the J8M. Somebody asked me for this a while ago, and I was like, God, do I really want this plane? So I used my 40% coupon, and I bought this thing. Well, let's do the history first before I tell you my opinion of this, but, yeah, spring of 1944, Japanese came to an agreement with Germany to acquire the Me-163, the Comet. Cost them 20 million Reichmarks, I guess you want to call it, something like that. Anyway, they loaded a dismantled engine and airframe onto two Japanese submarines that left France and headed to Japan. One was sunk in the middle of the Atlantic, and the second one was sunk by the Philippines. However, the second submarine was able to stop in Singapore, and a young naval officer left the submarine and flew to Japan. With him, he carried an instructional manual, a very basic instructional manual. So losing the complete airplane, airframe, and engine, the Japanese decided to reverse engineer the Comet from a instructional manual. Yeah, and by God, it worked. They had the general, idea of the engine, at least the airframe. They built several gliders to prove the airworthiness of the what they were trying to do. They eventually were able to get the engine working as well. They had the T stuff and C stuff, which was the fuel that the Comet in Germany used. So yeah, they had everything they needed just by essentially reverse engineering it from that instructional manual. So by September of 1944, they were getting all of the bugs worked out, at least the of the glider part of it, engine testing and whatnot. They were eventually able in 1945 to get this plane up and running, and this is where it kind of comes interesting. There was two versions of this aircraft. There is the J8M, which is the naval version, and then there was the KI-200, which was the Air Force version. Identical planes, the only real difference was in gun armament. This one uses the Type 5, and the other one used the HO-105. And there was some slight differences other than that, but that was the real big differences cannon-wise. 1945, August of 1945, they were able to get this airborne under its own power. Before, like I said, they were just doing glider flights, but they were able to launch this thing. On the first flight, I think you believe he made it to about 1,200 feet, roughly about 400 meters, and the engine died. And the pilot was able to turn the aircraft around, but on his attempt to land, he smacked the edge of a building, pretty much ending the first prototype, obviously with a fair amount of damage. The second prototype was, of course, almost ready. They produced 7 prototypes before the end of the war. They only had one actually that ended flying by its own power. Come to find out that they had a fuel pump problem, but by the time they were able to fix it, of course, August 15th came, and it was the end of World War II. The KI-200 was kind of interesting, which was the Air Force version of this, was going to be used actually not only as the interceptor for the B-29s, but it was going to be used to ram essentially the kamikaze jet-powered. Yeah, that's what they were thinking. So kind of an interesting history. The fact that they were able to reverse engineer this from an instructional manual was simply amazing. So what do we get in game? And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm only gonna do one video on this thing. This thing fucking frustrates the shit out of me. And I'm running a J7W2 crew in it with the marksman and the gyroscopic sight on this thing. These 230s are insanely, stupidly, dispersion is just terrible. I don't know why. It just doesn't do anything well. The biggest problem we'll look at the upgrades quick here too. Two 30 millimeters and a KR-10. This was going to be of course, the Japanese homemade jet or rocket engine. This thing, it's a small target to hit, and its biggest advantage it has over everything else is, of course, its altitude performance, which is at 100. If you want to be the rocket man, this is Wile E. Coyote strapping the Acme rocket on your ass and simply going vertical. That's what this thing does. Problem is, that everything else is bad about it. My biggest issues, of course, is the dispersion on the guns, and of course, they're very short range. They're only 560 meters. While this thing is capable of doing 700 kilometers plus, that means you have a very small frame of time to hit a target in the typical zoom and boom. I mean, we're talking maybe a burst or two before you're past the target, and it's not very easy to hit something that's wildly gyrating while you're going 700 kilometers an hour and you have 1 second or 2 seconds to get a shot on it. So yeah, it does not do that well, especially against other light fighters. Heavy fighters, this thing can run down most everything, especially at altitude. If something's boosting away, you hit the rockets and you're just fucking gone. You're right on their tail. But once again, short burst duration, heats quickly, bad dispersion, and you got to be fucking close. 560 meters is not that far away, especially with these 30s. If you're not doing the typical zoom and boom, and you try to get on a tail of something, you have of course, the engine power to get away from just about everything that wants to chase you, especially if you go into the vertical. But the problem is, if you get in behind something with the extremely shitty maneuverability of 40, most things will, and of course you're already traveling at 600 kilometers plus most of the time, unless you slow down a bunch, which leaves you being dead in the water for things to sneak up on and shoot you. You got to constantly be braking and flapping, trying to keep the nose on anything that you're trying to hit. And that's one of its big issues, is the maneuverability, and airspeed doesn't allow you to really get in behind a plane and be successful about it. So, what are you going to shoot at then, right? Well, heavy fighters, if you can find them. Bomber formations are fucking stupid with this thing because it has such low HP, and once again, the armament is just not up to the task of taking out large HP targets. Especially even if you slow down to get behind them, it still takes you a couple, 4 or 5 bursts of 30 mils to kill, a bomber. By that time, you're getting wrecked anyway. RB-17s, might as well not even fucking bother. Unless, if it's a bot, yeah, you're fine, because you're going to be making passes on it, but you're only going to get, a short amount of time before you're going to have to get out of his range of his rear guns, because this thing takes module damage. It's set on fire. Yeah, it's not easy in that prospect either. So it's kind of, and this is probably the first plane I'm ever going to give you fucking 2 thumbs down. Don't even bother with this plane. It's an oddity. Take it out once a night if you want to have some fun, just fucking rocketing up and down. But it's not going to carry a game. I've had some 10K fucking combat points or more with this plane, but they're fucking rare. This thing just doesn't not do anything real well. So I'm going to bring up the gameplay for you. 2 thumbs down on the J8M. Some people are going to love it. I'm sure they are. I just cannot. It's just not worth the money, in my opinion. There's other Tier 8s out there that you're going to score better with and make more money with than this thing. So I'm going to bring up the gameplay for you guys, and you can check this rocket plane out. Alright, back with the gameplay in the J8M, and I just happened to get lucky enough to run into Storm. Storm was one of my clanmates, and he's flying the XF-85, the Goblin. So yeah, we're both in really small planes that are, well, his is fun to play. Mine, not so much. And honestly, I just don't know what the fuck to shoot with this thing, right? I mean, every plane in the game has something that it should be designed to do. You know, whether it's taking on bomber formations, taking out bombers, heavy fighters, whatever. This does not do anything well. And I'm going to be honest with you, it just doesn't do anything well. I mean, you can take pot shots at light fighters, but unless you get lucky to get a good burst into them, then you're going to fly past them, fly out a ways, shitty maneuverability, so you have to turn around and come back, and then you can make another pass at them. And then you might get lucky to get one more hit on them, or maybe two, then you're going to have to make another pass at them. Yeah, so it really leads to a lot of just up and down, back and forth, and that's the way this plane's supposed to be played. It just does not do well in a turn. So I'm going to make my first pass here on the BF-109, and can't quite get it down, turn around, and I'm going to boost back up out of here, and I'm going to have to flip up over here and see if I can get back on the BF-109G again. And here we go, come on down, pick him up. Oh, so not easy to hit with those things. Wildly gyrating planes, this thing does not do well. Back into the vertical, flip up over here, see if I can pick up this other BF-109G that's flying away. This is a little bit better position, but they finish him off, and unfortunately I did not get absolutely dick all from that. So we're going to go into the vertical here and start getting some altitude to head to center. I'm going to try. I tried everything. You know, I'm going to shoot at some bombers. You know, I'm going to see if I can get to me an RB-17. RB-17s are fine as long as you is a bot. If it's a human player, you're fucked because his rear gunner is going to rip you to shit. You know, you can go after bot GAs and kind of play the vertical with them, up and down, and try to stay away from the rear gunner. Human players, you know, they just figure it out and turn away or put it into a dive, and then you're starting to get wrecked again. So dropping down on here, so they picked up the air base, and yeah, that leaves the attacker straight ahead here. Put some shells into him. Yeah, I'm not going to go head to head. Up we go. That's that 922 kilometers. Hit the boost, and we're just up. Right? That's the vertical of this plane is just ridiculous. We're up 2-1 right now, so I'm going to pull back around here. The attacker's not paying attention, so that leaves me a chance to come in on here so it doesn't work on my RB-17. Pick some, there we go, put some nice shots into him, and I got a P-51 on my tail. Yeah, 3,200 meters, and he has no problem sticking with me here. I'm up to 3,600 meters. Oh yeah, see if I can knock this attacker out here so he does not wreck my bomber. Get a couple shots into him, and finish him off. So now I'm still at 3,000 meters, and I got, like I said, a P-51 on my tail. This has always kind of bothered me about bots, how they're able to do this. I'm up to almost 4,000 meters, and yeah, here he is, still with me. Go figure. 4,200 meters, and there he is. Yeah, the 50 cals aren't that good on that machine, but yeah, he's staying right here in the vertical with me. Amazing, right? And so now he's dogged out, and I still have, you know, with the boost, I have no problem staying around up here, so I'm just going to try to work my way around. And this looks like, you know, the mating ritual of two elephants. Who can turn the fastest, or I should say the slowest, and try to get some shots here. So, boost around a little bit. Here we go. P-51 makes a mistake, comes back into me. Yeah, so now I'm above him at 4,100 meters. Yeah, the altitude performance on this plane is ridiculous. Same way with the speed. So we'll go head to head here. I'll put a couple shells into him. Yeah, still leaving me not much option here. I got to come back around here. And I can't really let him get my tail, otherwise I'm screwed. So let's see if I can flap back over again. We're up 3-1 right now. Right now, currently, Storm is just fucking wrecking everybody. I'm kind of just hanging out here. Get one shot into the P-51. Yeah, like I said, dispersion, slow shell speed, and short range. These 30s are just ridiculously bad. pull back over. And some people like this plane, don't get me wrong. It's just not for me, and your average player is not going to care for this plane. So, pick off the P-51 finally. Like I said, mating ritual of elephants. Yeah, not terribly entertaining to watch, right? So, I got some GAs down below. We're going to have to go over here and we're going to work on the bomber formation, just to kind of give you an idea what I'm talking about, how really ineffective this plane can be. And remember, I'm running Marksman 1, Marksman 2, and I've taken this in the training room and just watched the shells leave the gun, and neither one ever come close to being next to each other. There's usually one that's either doesn't even in the circle, or it's low, or it's high. So you're really most of the time only getting one shell that actually might even hit something here. Pick up the, there we go, pick him up, and now this is what you have to do in this plane, otherwise you get wrecked. Up you go, and you're looking for some altitude above them, and then you can turn around and you can come back down and make the vertical pass on these guys. You don't really, like I said, you really don't want to be behind them. You just don't have the HP. 252 is not a whole lot of HP when you're dealing with bombers. So, around we go. I'm looking for the next pass. We're going to come in here from the side here and see if we can pick up. There we go. And as I speak, all of a sudden the dispersion looks pretty good, but believe me, it's never really that great. Maybe I'm just having a bad day with it or what, but it seemed like every time I shot with the shells, they were all over the place. Can't really do much there with the P-51 in the way. And we're going to pull around here, see if I can pick up, yep, finish him off. And we're up 3 to 2 caps, 3 to 2 objectives. We're going to hit the boost and go up. Like I said, this plane isn't for everybody. I would say there's probably a few people that are actually going to like it. The vast majority, I don't think they're going to like this plane if you're playing it. It just really suffers from a lot of things. Everything from maneuverability to real light armament, in my opinion, at Tier 8. The 230s are fine, but they overheat quickly, and like I said, with the short range, if these had a range out to say about 1,000 meters, you might have something. You know, you can start a little quicker when you're making your shots on things. Pick up the bomber going through here. We'll put a couple shells into him. Pick up both of them, and then I got to boost away and set up another pass on them. Unless you catch the bomber formation way out in the open, or way at the beginning where they spawn, is about the only chance you really have of taking out all 5. Otherwise, if you catch them halfway, you spend too much time going into the vertical, climbing up, and then dropping on them. You know, you're only maybe getting, if you're lucky, half their HP in the 1 or 2 seconds that you're actually on target. So drop down here, 1, 2, pick him up, and then you're right through, and you're not able to do anything about it. So I'm going to pull up here, see if I can pick up the last bomber. Yep, pick him up. Unfortunately, I also grazed the wing of my partner. So we're sitting at, storm's already at to 12,000, and I'm just snapping 4,000. Oof. So, yeah, that's how bombers work with this thing. So I'm going to go over here and see if I can fuck up something else. Maybe find me an RB-17 or maybe another BF-109. So we'll drop in here and see what we can find. And we got some. There's a BF-109. Let's see if we can do anything with that. Put one shell into him. Finally get him. He was almost dead anyway. Back around here. BF-109G's above me. We're just going to go into the vertical. Yep, there we go. There's not a whole lot he can do. Up we go. Turning, twisting until we can find something to shoot at. Where you at? Where you at? There he is. And we're going to rocket down here. Looking at my speed. Oh, put a couple shells into him. Finish him off. And unfortunately not enough time to finish off the objective. Yeah, we're already up 4 to 1, so it's going to be pretty quick. So, my opinion, 2 thumbs down. If you want to buy it just because it's a freaking Comet, yeah, go for it. But for credit-wise, for carrying games, it just doesn't have it. It's too, yeah. It's the only thing it's got for it, going for it, is that rocket engine and the unbelievable up and down it can do. Other than that, it just really suffers with those guns and maneuverability. So thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you guys have a good night.